People that use Tinder. Got any good or bad hookup stories? NSFW. Story 1. I'm probably late to the party, but I'll share because my Tinder story is terrible, and that's what we're all here to see. So I matched with this really cute girl, and all of her pictures were professionally done, like senior pictures. We texted for a few days, and she seemed all right, but not exactly interesting or funny, but as any sane male using Tinder, I wasn't looking for anything more than a hookup. So one night she invited me to pick her up because she was sneaking out of her house. And I agreed and drove to her neighborhood to meet her. I called her when I was at the gate and she sounded funny and sounded like she was eating and her mouth was full. I thought nothing of it and waited for her to come out. So she rounds the corner, walking kind of funny and wearing weird clothes like clothes a 12-year-old girl would wear. And again, we're both 19. So she gets in my car and she's kind of making a funny face. And as she reached to hold my hand without saying hello, it hit me. This girl was mentally handicapped. So her little brother came running around the corner yelling, telling her to come back because their parents were going to go crazy. She yelled back out of my open window, "It's okay, I'm with my boyfriend, he's going to take care of me." I'm sweating at this point, and I calmly tell her that she should probably go with her brother, but she wouldn't let go of my hand. So after some convincing, she went back with her brother and I sped out of there. She called me like 20 times, texted me saying she needed me because her parents were going mental, being mad at her, and I sent one text back saying that she should listen to them and not sneak out anymore, and I never texted her again. And she still texts me to this day, inviting me to go to places with her family as her boyfriend, and I never reply. So now I Skype everyone before I meet them in person. I think it is fair to say now, and probably a good rule of thumb for this guy, to block the number from this poor girl. I mean, she just wants to be loved and feel like a normal girl, and I'm glad that she has a protective brother who was looking out for her too. It might be time to monitor her phone usage a little bit though, because it seemed that she was all too eager to jump into a car with that guy. Story 2. Oh boy. Okay, so back in January, I started using it and was matched with a girl who happened to also be in engineering at the same school as me. We started talking, and next thing I knew, we had gone on a few dates and everything was going great. A few days later, I had a stats midterm, and while studying, I got a text from her saying, "Hope your midterm goes well. Why don't you come over for board games after?" Now, I'm usually pretty oblivious, but board games? On a Friday night? Yeah, I'm getting laid. So I finished my midterm, text her that I'm on my way, and hop on a bus. And the entire bus ride, I'm smiling from ear to ear, waiting patiently until I finally arrive around 9:30. I enter her place and bam! A bottle of wine on the table. Yeah, I'm getting laid. So I go and sit down and we start drinking and bam! Settlers of Catan. And we played for 2 hours. She hugs me goodnight and I leave, and I didn't get laid. Story 3. My buddy just told me his story last week. Apparently, he had it for a while and got nothing. So his first hookup was some really cute girl that was somehow in the sports industry. She got them special access to a game, and then they would go to a party at somebody's uber expensive apartment, like rooftop garden in New York City in the millions. And then he got a BJ in the bathroom. Now, he is not a guy that brags, but it was over the top enough that he had to share the story. I mean, how could you blame that guy? You go from just casually swiping on your phone to hanging out at different games and then getting head in a bathroom? I mean, that's pretty much every guy's fantasy right there. I think when you achieve that level of awesomeness, it's an unwritten guy rule that you have to share and brag a little bit. Something that epic should not be kept to oneself. Story 4. I recently started using Tinder and happened to get pretty darn lucky with the first girl I actually met up with. We met and got ice cream and did some making out and stuff the first time, and then again another time, but then the third time was quite a different story. She and I met at a bar that I usually go to on Wednesday nights, and she ended up being pretty drunk that night, which is unusual for her, and we started fooling around after heading to her apartment. At some point, she told me she was pretty inexperienced and wanted a good story if we were going to hook up. So somehow, we ended up going to a lake in the middle of campus and found a secluded spot where we banged for almost 2 hours. Inexperience apparently did very little to affect her enthusiasm, and it did end up being a pretty darn good story. Story 5. I got Tinder about a month ago and met with my first live one last week. And we actually had been messaging for about a week or two, pretty different schedules to blame, but we ended up meeting for a concert, which led to drinks, which led me to inviting him back to my house, which led to doing the deed. And the deed lasted effing forever, and not in a good way. He was one of those drunks who just can't effing finish, and instead of admitting defeat, he just keeps pounding and pounding. Gentlemen, This is not desirable. Crap hurts after not too long. There is chafing involved, and in the end, I was just so over it that I rolled over and went to sleep. So sorry, dude. I'm giving him another chance this weekend with hopefully less alcohol, so we'll see. Story 6. Started flirting with this one girl, and eventually got her number, and she texted me on a daily basis. After 2 weeks of getting to know each other, she asked me to be her date at a Super Bowl party. It sounded fun to me, so I thought, why not? She said the party was at 5, but she wanted to come over around 3:30, even though it was a 10-minute ride from there. So I totally figured that she wanted to hook up first, so I totally prepared myself for that. And she shows up, and I invite her in and ask how long before we have to leave. She says it's already started, so we have to leave now. And I thought, well, that was weird, but I got into the car and drove there with blue balls the whole way. It was at a restaurant that she worked at, and it was an employees and their dates party. So when we got there, it pretty much hasn't started. Big surprise. We talked for about an hour and get to know each other, but it's painful because she's so shy. It was open bar, but she doesn't drink, so I resisted the temptation. Now, eventually her coworkers come and I meet them. She told me one of them was an ex, and it didn't really bother me. They seemed like good guys. A little on the scummy side, though, so they all looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. They're all about 22 and have a kid or two and low-income jobs. So eventually, they convince her to drink. And one sip becomes a whole drink, and then one drink becomes 3. And she is really drunk, but still kind of flirty. I didn't drink anything and played it on the safe side because I was driving. And the plan was to leave halfway through and go to a house party. So I drive her and her coworkers there, and what a horrible idea. We get there, and it's one of the worst places I've ever seen. There was a 75-year-old man playing Madden instead of watching the Super Bowl. There were kids running around while people were doing various drugs and talking about selling drugs, along with pregnant women drinking. A little uncomfortable, but screw it. We all play a drinking game, and then the girl goes to the bathroom down the hall. About 3 minutes later, 2 of the coworkers go down the hall to the porch to smoke. About 10 minutes goes by, and her ex gets up to see if the bathroom's open. And he comes back and lays this on me. John, Jen is getting railed by both those guys right now. Don't go into the bathroom. Now, I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea what to do. So I just sat there and just watched the Super Bowl. And 5 minutes later, she comes out literally pulling her pants up. She completely ignores me and continues playing. And then 5 minutes goes by and she goes to smoke with another guy. One guy goes to check and comes back to let me know, yeah, sorry, man, she's railing him now, too. The guys at the table start saying how nice a guy I am and that it sucks that I'm her date and that she's already railed 3 guys. And then they started getting weird. They started whispering about me and pointing at me. Was entirely sure that I was going to get jumped. So she comes back and I tell her, hey, we're leaving in 5. One guy at the table stops me and says, wait, she's already railed Tim, Bill, and Mark, and I figured me and Mike could get a go and you can have her the rest of the night. What the heck? I left immediately with her. Unfortunately, her car was at my place and she kept saying the whole car ride that she hates it when this happens and this is why she doesn't drink. Took the long way home because I knew she was drunk. She tried to prove she wasn't by slapping herself and then saying, I'm not drunk, I see the 3 yellow lines in the road. I know there's only 2, but that's how I know I'm sober. I tell her to stay for an hour knowing I could prolong it as she could sober up, but she throws a hissy fit that her phone's dead and her parents are looking for her. She says that she has to drive home immediately, get home, and say, "'Kay, bye." She apologizes and leaves, saying she'll see me soon, and I never talk to her again. And then she posts on her Facebook like 3 weeks later about how bad she messed up and how her coworkers don't take her seriously and how she has to move because of it. So there is a lot to unpack here. First, lesson to be learned here, guys. If after 2 weeks of talking to a girl and flirting, you are already behind the curve if the girl is the one who has to ask you out to a party. Make that first move because you're now stuck at a weird party with a 75-year-old gamer. Also, I hate when the girls use alcohol as a cop-out and excuse for their horrible behavior at a party. You're telling me the only reason that you screwed multiple guys in one night is because you were forced to drink? That seems like a little bit of a lazy excuse to me. Pretty sure the behavior was always there and you're just hiding behind the booze, girl. Story 7. My Tinder story starts on Thanksgiving 2013. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, but was in Massachusetts visiting family. I was bored, newly single, and fairly buzzed from my departed grandfather's old scotch. I saw an adorable girl with a black lab, and I swiped right. She did as well, and we began messaging each other. It's clear that she has an excellent dry and sarcastic sense of humor, and we decided to meet north of Boston for a drink. I park and start walking towards the bar. I see her looking at me from the car. She gets out and shakes my hand, and I'm delighted by how cute she is in person. Those big, beautiful eyes. As soon as we walk in, a very drunk, middle-aged woman tells me that she likes my glasses. She was quite chatty, and my date looked on with an amused and charming smile, because I think she enjoyed how I dealt with the situation. So we sit down and talk. Conversation is slow at first. She's 30, I'm 28, and I'm newly single, and she's been divorced for 1.5 years. And we were both a bit shy, but we made each other laugh. And I'm trying to suppress this aha type of emotion, but it keeps getting stronger by the minute. We keep talking, and the crowd around us erodes into inebriation. There is yelling, there is dancing, there is Little John piping through the speaker system. Ah, skeet skeet, mother effer! We decided to try another bar. We clearly like each other, but the previous venue was a bit of a hellhole. Nothing is open since we're in the burbs. So she mentioned that her fitness studio is nearby, but it's Thanksgiving, and we're in Massachusetts and there's nowhere to buy wine. Now she is sweet, and she's gone from cute to beautiful. I'm compelled to spend as much time with her as I can. She is so funny. I mention sheepishly that I have a bottle of whiskey in my car, and I give her several outs as I don't want her to be creeped out. She feels comfortable enough to have a drink in her studio with me. We go up, and I'm still in hookup mode, but I clearly feel something special. After a few minutes, I try to reconcile this confusion by kissing her. She doesn't reciprocate. So I'm embarrassed, and I apologize, and she apologizes and tells me that she liked it. She just wasn't expecting it. She wasn't sure if I was having a good time. So I smile, because I know that I'm somehow having the time of my life. And we admit how nervous we are and decide to take it slow. We listen to Neon Indian. We discover a mutual love for Elliott Smith. We tell each other things that we haven't told those closest to us. We hold hands for hours. We kiss again, and this time it's electric. Now she is tipsy and it's late, and she needs to teach a fitness class early in the morning. I don't want her to drive or have to sleep in her studio, so I offer her a ride. I tell her I'm exhausted and that I want to stay over. I want to sleep next to her, and I promise to be a gentleman, and she agrees. We got up to her place, and I met her dog. He is gregarious and has a distinguished name. We put on music and go to bed, and we make love. It's wonderful and nerve-wracking, and I'm fairly petrified. We sleep, wake, make love again. And suddenly it's 7 a.m., and I'm sad. So I drive her back to her studio where her car is parked nearby. I buy her a coffee, and we tell each other how much we enjoyed last night. We make plans for Saturday. I walk away feeling like I've met my soulmate. We text nonstop, and then spend Saturday and Sunday together, and I leave for New York City on Monday. She is going to visit. She keeps giving me outs in case I change my mind, but I won't. She visits 2 weeks later and has the best weekend of our lives. We decided that we want to be together. Countless miles and Spotify playlists later, we moved in together in Boston in April, and I'm happier now than I've ever been. And it's the most wonderful and natural and healthy relationship that I could ever hope for. It's the kind of love that transcends words and songs and poetry. I'm incredibly thankful, and it gives me anxiety to think how easy it would have been for us to never meet. It was completely inconvenient and unexpected and perfect. And we are happy. We are indefinitely appreciative of one another. We wish we met sooner, but we know that we have found each other right on time. Well, holy crap. Hard not to appreciate such a finely worded love story. I applaud this guy for putting in the time and energy to share his lovely encounter. I truly hope that these two are still together because with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, it is these kinds of things which the world needs. Obviously, not everyone believes in soulmates, but it sounds like these two are pretty darn close. In the comments, has anyone had a similar experience where you met someone and it just clicked instantly? Story 8. I was traveling to Riga, Latvia via bus from Estonia. I was planning to spend a few days there to explore the city. Lux Express has free Wi-Fi, so I was killing time by looking at girls on Tinder. I started talking to this one local brunette, and we kind of hit it off. And she suggested that we meet later on in town, and I agreed. So after dropping off my stuff at the hostel, I went to meet her in one of the local establishments which sells drinks. When I entered the bar, I was stunned by her looks, and to be honest, I probably couldn't get any intelligent comment out of me until I had downed a few beers. Luckily, she liked to talk and kept telling me about the old town and Riga's nightlife. I think I managed to ask a few intelligent questions about her and tell a little bit about myself. But then we walked around the old town of Riga and talked for a few hours, and I thought everything was going really well. Later, we met up with a few of her friends and went to this one nightclub We danced and generally had a good time. So towards the end of the evening, I made out with her a few times and was, let's just say, more than excited about my prospects. She told me she's going to the ladies' room and decided that I have to have a few more drinks to calm my nerves because I was on a dry spell. We went back to my hostel and started making out. I had my own room, and then all of a sudden, she stopped and gave the price list pitch. At this point, I was between furious and horny, seriously considering what I could afford, but I ended up throwing her out of my room. I wish that would have been the end of it, but she started screaming and kicking the door, and I ended up getting thrown out of the hostel with her, and she threatened me to give her the cash or the boys will come after me. So then she started to follow me when I left to search for new accommodations, and I walked a few blocks listening to her threats and phone calls, and at the end of the street I noticed a few guys start to walk fast towards us. And I have never ran so fast with a backpack in my life, not even in the army. I managed to lose them in this big park at the edge of Riga's Old Town by hiding in the bushes. I think I waited there for like an hour or two before proceeding back to the bus station and getting the hell out of Latvia. Man, this story started off so wholesome. I was genuinely excited for this guy on his fun travel adventure, meeting a cute and sexy local girl to hang out with and hook up. It's like the stuff of classic rom-coms. But this took a very dark and scary turn, because just when you think you're having a good time, the Latvia pimps come chasing after you. But hats off to this guy for some quick thinking Assassin's Creed bush stealth. I hope you had better success in another country, dude.